And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It is Monday, May 30th. I want to say is the actual date. Yes, Monday, May
Yeah.
30th. And today is Memorial Day. And we are the Voice of Reason podcast. As always, I am your host, Sean Phillips, joined alongside my two co hosts, Mr. Andy Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. Day of rest, my first full day of vacation, and detailing my van so I can make a customer run tomorrow to St. Louis, and already got my week filled up for me. So you know how it is.
Nice. Are you doing that with Uber or Lyft, or
Well, since
are you doing
since
private?
I'm hoping nobody with Uber or Lyft is listening, but because I can because I can underprice Uber on pretty much everything. I'm doing it as a private contractor, which my insurance doesn't like me doing that. But you know, when it's
What they don't know won't hurt them.
exactly straight cash into my pocket, it's okay.
Hey, you know what? We got inflation out here. You gotta do what you gotta do.
I know. So, but we do that tomorrow, and of course, last night we had our fifth episode of Bryson versus Dad, and I come away with a victory. So I am very, very happy that I did not take a cold water shower yesterday. So
Oof.
we played we
Luck of the draw.
we played
Luck of the
we
draw.
played washers yesterday. So we bought a washer set yesterday, and we played washers, and it was 21 to 17. It wasn't a wipeout or anything, but I saw Travis's beach bod today, though. I saw that on his story today.
Yeah, we went to the beach. There's a lake I don't know, 30 minutes from, not even 30, 15 minutes from here. Overall was not a great experience. Just way too many people, and we were just stressed out. So we came back, and today was the first day our local community pool and our homeowners association was open. So we just went there, and then we both like passed out for an hour, and that was nice. And last night, really last minute, we got offered free tickets to Coldplay at
No, you
Soldiers
didn't.
Field.
You did
Yeah,
not
we
get
got
free tickets
yeah,
to
and it was
Coldplay.
awesome. We were really close. Yeah, it was really really cool. I was not expecting it. Great show, great performance, and then they had. So it was really what was really neat about it is they had the main stage, and we were on the floor, and then not towards the end they moved, and there was another stage that was close to us in the back, and then they came and performed two songs. One of them, my favorite one, "Sparks" by Coldplay, is my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite Coldplay song. And then Lupe Fiasco came out, and they did an acoustic version of "Superstar," and it was awesome. I was not expecting that.
Man,
And if you've ever been to Coldplay, they are such phenomenal performers, and they do some really cool stuff with they have like these wristbands that like light up and it's part of the whole show, and like everybody in the crowd's wearing them. It was just such a cool experience.
that is
Uh,
cool. That is very cool.
Highly recommend you see them if you've never seen them.
I'm a huge concert fan. That's really cool. But
Yeah, that's an experience.
But Sean, before you get started tonight, Bryson sent me a list of jokes. He knows that you're a comedian, and he says stream these jokes, and I'm just only going to read one, and he wants you to use it in a show. And he says, "What kind of concert only costs 45 cents?" And the answer is a 50 cent concert featuring Nickelback. So,
Ba-bum.
but bump. He's got a
That's
million.
pretty great. I actually like that.
He's got a million of them. So what can I say? What did you do this weekend, Sean? Like you don't have anything busy in your life.
Yeah, a lot of packing. We did a lot of that. Still trying to figure out. There's a couple like big things here that we're not taking with us that we're getting rid of. So we're probably going to do like a couple yard sales, kind of scattered out amongst the next couple of weeks.
Get ready for the blue hairs.
Yeah, we today was a lot of fun. Like yesterday, trying to run through my weekend. It was kind of blur. Friday. Oh yeah. So Friday I had to go to one of my high schools at like 9 p.m. till about 2 in the morning for their project graduation. We have some stuff they use, some inflatables that the guard has that they use. So that was my Friday night. Saturday was pretty chill. Hung out with the girls. We had a good day. Same with Sunday. Pretty chill day. A lot of fun hanging out with the girls. I got extremely sunburned. Even though I've been tanning, so that sucked. But not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. And then today, Tony unfortunately had to work still at the gym. The gym was still open. So this morning I went, and Julian's daycare was closed. So we actually went to my work, and I still had all the inflatables from, the high school event, because they're these big, like,
Did you set them up?
bounce house things. I didn't set them all up, but I set one up for her to kind of jump around. I got my workout in. So she
Nice.
had a blast. And then my parents actually they were bored today. They didn't have anything going on. So they drove down and
Nice.
got to kind of hang out with them. We're at the point now where it's 4 weekends away from moving. So we're trying to get as much of that in as we can while we can. Still super surreal. Everything's kind of getting crazy. I've got a huge interview this week coming up that I'm nervous but extremely excited about.
Yes,
and
you'll have to share that next week after the outcome of that one.
Is that the one you were telling us about?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
definitely,
we'll keep that under wraps until you feel comfortable talking.
Hopefully land it.
Yeah, that would be
we'll see.
the land of a lifetime. So
yeah, I agree. But as many of you guys know, as we kind of roll into the show today, this week has been a pretty tough one for me as a dad, and I know for a lot of people, many schools. This was the last week of school for a lot of places across the United States. A lot of kids getting ready to graduate. A lot of kids getting ready to go to school for the first time next year, and what happened in Texas was truly one of the most heinous, evil kind of acts we've seen in a long time. And the thing is, we're at the point now where this sounds kind of terrible, but these things are so common. These things they've become such a regularly occurring thing that we see. This one has just been particularly bad because it was young elementary school children, and there's been a lot of talk.
Shawn,
and
with that, I just want to throw this out there before you get too deep in this. I just did some research just before the show, before you came on, and Travis heard this. You didn't get to hear this, but to show you how grim this is, since the year 2000, give me what you believe your best guesstimate as to how many shootings occur, colleges and universities combined. Give me what you think your best guesstimate is.
My best guesstimate? Maybe, because if we count like small ones, I guess.
Yes, this is this is counting with and without casualties. So yes,
1,200.
361.
Jeez, I was way off. That's still a lot. But I guess I was thinking of based off of. In my head, I was basing it off of like mass shooting numbers. So I wasn't thinking of schools. I was thinking of mass shooting numbers because I know there's a ton all the time.
I'll go ahead and talk. I'll give you mass shooting numbers here in a second.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the hardest parts about this for me, and I'm sure Travis is someone that can kind of speak to this as well. We are not civilian law enforcement. Okay, that is not what Travis did in his time in the military. That's not what I did in the military. I was a military police officer, but we're not civilian law enforcement. One of the details that has kind of come out of this shooting in Texas, that has raised a lot of questions and has been a big talk, is law enforcement's reaction to the shooting and to the situation. I speak as a National Guardsman. Okay. I speak as someone that has served my country on deployment. I've served my community, and a um, ton of different things, whether it was protests, whether it was snowstorms, tornadoes, like we've been out there. I cannot wrap my head around the fact that someone that is sworn to serve and protect, whether it be, I think of it from a military standpoint of knowing what I have signed the dotted line for or what I have joined. It does not sit right with me, as I'm sure it doesn't sit right with everyone else in this country, how police stood by, detained parents that were trying to get into the school. I understand that all situations kind of dictate, but this was not. It hurts my head knowing that it took over an hour and a half for any kind of action to be taken. And the crazy thing is, from everything that I've read, and I do apologize if I'm wrong when I say this, but I saw it from credible sources, was the person that actually had killed the suspect was an off-duty Border Patrol agent.
Special, yep.
And so it doesn't make sense to me. I had the conversation with Tony. I understand, like, I'm sure there was, I can almost guarantee you the chief of that town is out the door.
Yeah.
And again, probably going to be, forced to retire early with, benefits. But I don't understand what the rationale was behind their decision to stand idle and do nothing in this situation. Travis, is there anything you could think of that like might be the reason why, like particularly in this instance, they're like, hey, don't engage? Like, I understand maybe if they thought they were like hostages, but clearly you hear shots ringing out. This isn't, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
I personally have no idea as to, forgive me, I'm dealing with allergies, so I sound like shit right now. I have no idea as to why they would have made that call, other than a leader of that police department was worried about losing his job, so he thought maybe. I won't even say that. There was no excuse for that.
No, there was no
call, because for a fact, and unfortunately, this situation as a whole is a bad look for that police department and all the officers, even though I bet a majority of the officers were standing there wondering, what the hell are we doing? Why are we doing this? I'd like to think that.
I hope to think that, yeah.
And unfortunately, too, this situation, it's a bad look, not just for that police department, but I've seen a lot of negative comments towards police in general, just because of the actions of that particular department and what happened in this situation, which is unfortunate. I think I think everybody's disappointed in the lack of initiative from that police department and not neutralizing that threat immediately, and you have parents who are trying, begging to get in and do something, and then it's just, overall, it makes no sense. And yeah, he's definitely going to lose his job.
Well, let me walk through this with you guys, and I'll put this up on the screen while we go through this. So this is the timeline as provided by Governor Greg Abbott and then the Texas Department of Public Safety. So let's just walk through this. And this kind of, again, you guys brought this up. So 11 a.m., shooter sends Facebook messages. I won't read all the details. 11:28, shooter arrives at school. He crashes the vehicle in a ditch near the school, fires a gun at two male witnesses who approach from a funeral home. So these guys are actually across the street at a funeral. Okay. 11:30, teacher calls 911. 11:31, shooter walks through the school parking lot. 11:33, shooter enters school. 11:35, Uvalde police enter the school. The three Uvalde police officers rush to the same door that the gunman used to enter, which was closed. They enter and receive grazing wounds from the gunman. They retreat. Later, four more officers, including a deputy with the Uvalde County Sheriff's Department, enter the school. 11:37, gunman fires 16 more rounds. 11:43, Robb Elementary and Uvalde police post on Facebook. 11:44, police officers are inside. Police with the city of Uvalde and the local school district are inside the school. They hear gunfire, are shot at, move back, and get cover. That right there is ridiculous. But 11:51, more police arrive. 11:54, onlooker starts filming. And the video that they have, we won't play the video, but it's 21 minutes after the shooter enters the school. An onlooker streams a live video showing parents begging police to enter the school. Begging police. Okay. 12:03, police continue to arrive, and a student calls from 911 from the inside. Meanwhile, as many as 19 officers are positioned in the school's hallway. Again, have not encountered the shooter yet. Student calls back at 12:10. 12:13, student calls 911 again. 12:15, Border Patrol Tactical Unit arrives. Student calls 911 again at 12:16. 12:17, school announces active shooter on campus. Onlookers and parents beg for action. Beg for action. Okay, parents try to break windows and are not allowed to immediately be reunited with their children. Parents break the windows, not police officers, parents. Another student calls 911 at 12:19. 12:21, gunman fires again. 12:36, student in 111, room 111 calls back. 12:43, gunman shoots the door. 12:46, I can hear the police next door. 12:47, please send the police now. Student who called 911. 12:50, Border Patrol kills gunman. Okay, so this guy enters the room at 11:33. And he is inside this school for an hour and 20 minutes.
I got a question here. So did this police department, do they have a SWAT team?
So Uvalde is a town of 16,200 people. And I am going to say, so that's a comparison to, that's about the same size as Hannibal. Okay? So I would like to think that they would, but I'll keep on talking. I'll look it up.
Well, the one thing,
the fact that they call it Border Patrol is. Go ahead, Sean. That's what's confusing me. Why do they have to call Border Patrol to take care of this? They were already there.
One of the things that I had seen, at least from the video footage that I had seen, was before the Border Patrol had arrived, there were like long rifled police officers standing around outside. And this is during everything that was going on. It wasn't like they had arrived later on. And even if it's you take 12 police officers with M9s, you go and eliminate that suspect. You're telling me that in this school, someone armed with an M4 at close quarters, because you got to think if he's in a classroom, right? Or even, just even in the hallway, you're trying to tell me that if we're talking about the numbers of the police officers we've heard, there's over 20. You're telling me that 20 of them are not even if they were just armed with M9s, are not able to take out one assailant armed.
This is just
not even an M4. Not even an M4.
Let me read this. This is published today. This was in People magazine. So the next issue of People will have this in there. An exclusive interview with People, an unnamed officer, said there was almost a mutiny. We were like, there's a effing gunman in the school. We hear gunshots and we're just going to stand here with our thumb up our asses. And then he goes on to say, we wanted to go in and save lives. It was the most frustrating situation of my entire career. The officer told People we felt like cowards. It felt cowardly to stand off and let this 18-year-old asshole, just go in, do whatever he wanted to. There was a lot of arguing, a lot of cussing, a lot of people who were saying that we should just say F it and go in. But then we needed to have a plan, and the commander didn't have a plan. from the benefit of hindsight where I'm sitting now. Of course, it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. When it comes to an active shooter, you don't have to wait on tactical gear, plain and simple. Even if he had barricaded himself in, he had already shot at people. So why weren't we in there doing what we should have done? I remember thinking, this is wrong, but there is nothing I could do. It sucks that we look like we were cowards, but because we weren't cowards. But that's nothing compared to the fact that the little kids died and maybe could have done something to save them. I wish we would have known what to do. I wish someone would have told us what to do.
Like leadership.
I still think it's a bullshit excuse. Like, I don't care. And again, I understand, like, serve and protect. And you mean to tell me that I don't buy it. I don't care if they thought they were going to be reprimanded. I don't care what kind of trouble that you deal with that shit later. You deal with it later. It angers me so much. To the point where I can't, I don't care. I don't want to hear their excuse of their commander. Again, it needs to go. I understand it. Doesn't have a plan because it's a brand new situation. You go, okay, what we do understand is that there are children being murdered. And we know that children have already been murdered, or at least have already been shot at. So instead of standing around with our thumbs up our ass saying we don't have a plan, you make a plan and you move and you execute. Anytime we do training, even if it's within the guard, and we do something where we work on active shooters, whether it's we just work on, working with Op 4 and capture the flag, plans change, and you have to adjust. And it's like, crazy on drugs, and I didn't want to, get into this, and he's on his own way. You know what the situation is. And when you're a police officer and you understand that children are in danger, you step up to the plate. That is your job. That is what you have sworn to do. That is why they pinned the badge on you. And you wouldn't have caught me standing there with my thumb up my ass. If it would have been the day that I died, it would have been the day that I died. But you can't tell me. It infuriates me to this level that I don't even know. It goes to show you that police departments they're not training on these kind of things. They're not prepared for these kinds of things. And that again begs the question, well, where's the budget at? Why, this is the argument that I always have with, again, you can't win the argument with any side when people talk about like defunding the police, right? Well, if you defund the police, they're not going to take away, the tactical equipment that everyone talks about. Like, oh, we don't want to militarize the police. What they take away is the training that should have been done beforehand. Okay. But when police departments are usually understaffed, they're under budgeted, this is what happens. Okay. You don't receive the proper training. You get a bunch of cowards. And I saw footage of some of these cops. And if you want to tell me that they seem fit to be cops, you're wrong. I saw, it seemed like damn near a 300-pound guy just standing behind an SUV with a pistol trained at the school. And that's the law enforcement officer that should have been in there, rushing in there to save those kids. Then he was just standing there with a pistol trained at a school building while he was standing behind an SUV, knowing that the shooter is in there killing children.
So this tactical, Uvalde has because it is a, how do I say this? The heritage of this town is that it is a border town. It is rich with Latino. A number of these children that were killed were Latino, second and third generation Latino kids. As far as so these are and it is a largely Hispanic town. But I'm assuming that's where the Border Patrol agent came in. But this is. I'm with you, Sean. The fact that, okay, if you're, And this was real to me. Let me just say how real this was to me. Okay. This guy went into a fourth grade room. I have a fourth grader. And Janine messaged me when this was going down. And I was just like, okay. And 10 and 11-year-old kids, I mean, that's the age of my kids. That's the age of my kids. Now, I can guarantee you, now we give a lot of crap to our local Mounties, county Mounties and everything, but I want to tell you something. At the first sign of a threat of someone, hey, there's a kid talking about shooting up the school, I can say this with absolute accuracy because we have dealt with it before. Pike County Sheriff's Department will come out and they will investigate. They will question students. They will talk to students. All we have to do, we just report it. We just tell them, hey, this is what we've heard, and Pike County sheriffs are out there. I mean, there's no guesswork. Because we are such a rural, isolated school district. We are a school district K through 12. We're around 475, I believe. And the other thing that, and this should be something that goes on the school as well. I mean, we're guilty of there's sometimes that schools are guilty of this. Having an open door. Now, this school, from the research that I did, this school had the complete lockdown system. They had the key buzzers to let them in at the door. But, their back door is open and saying, hey, and I've heard of a lot of schools this happens. Where, okay, well, we have the maintenance man entrance or whatever is out back, or to me, that's on the school. You need to have, when you're in a lockdown situation, it's hard to be in a lockdown situation when you have an unlocked door. And to me, as a teacher, my heart broke when I heard about these two female teachers who shielded their kids, and still, 19 kids got shot, 18 kids got shot, including the two teachers. So there's just a lot of things to really unpack when you look at this. And I have a ton of issues with the way it was handled. I have a ton of issues with, like you said, Sean, unprepared teachers, school district, whatever. I mean, we have shooter training. We haven't had an active shooter training in a few years, but we do have every year for the last 20 years that I've been at Clopton. Every year, Pike County Sheriffs, Missouri Conservation Police, Missouri State Highway Patrol, Pike County Sheriff's Department, they have people come in and they take up about an hour to an hour and a half of our time, and they go through everything. I mean, I can tell you the drill frontwards and backwards of what we're supposed to do. They meet with us and they tell us, here's the plan. And the year we did the active shooter training, it freaked some of the teachers out. But I mean, we knew exactly, man, slide the lock, get a desk, break a window. Get a desk, break a window, start getting kids, tell them go back and run into the woods, go back there, get the kids out of the school. We have signs that we flip, red for danger here, green for we're good, And but even after all that though, can you truly be prepared? Is my question.
I think the police department could have. Sean made this point already. I mean, they obviously were not trained on how to handle a situation like that, which I would like to believe a police department of all agencies that we have should be prepared for this. To talk about, like in the military, we do things called battle drills, and you just constantly practice these scenarios over and over again. Hey, this is how you do what we do if this happens. This is how we do if that happens, and you constantly do it. And the fact that, as Sean noted, these police, it just looked like they had no clue how to handle it. Like even your lowest guy should have known this is what we need to
But
do in this situation.
a town of 16,000. I mean, obviously, I would think they had at least 100 guys on the police force, wouldn't you think?
I think they most definitely had enough.
That's fair enough to say that they had 100 guys on the police force. I mean,
We're talking at the end of the day, though. We're talking about one shooter. I mean, they
one,
even if they only had 30 guys.
does he got you so pinned? I mean, I guess you have to be there, and you had four guys who took shot, who were shot at and everything. But don't you think that it's? I mean, if you get enough guys together, I mean, one of the things that we're taught, and this is, I mean, I'm not letting any secrets out of the bag here, but it's common knowledge that we're always taught that if you have a shooter at your window, you get books, you get whatever crap. If they try to shoot in the window, then you throw books at them. You throw, you get rulers, you get desk, you barricade the crap out of the door. To
piggyback off that, V, I was a part of a training at Fort Leonard Wood that did simulations of active shooters and stuff, and literally simulation after simulation after simulation after simulation after simulation. And I will never forget. So this is not really the time and place for it, but there's a celebrity out there who is like not on my list of all the bullshit that they like to spew. This is one thing that they particularly said was what they found, like schools had started putting a bucket of river rocks and like thick rocks in classrooms in the event of an active shooter. And this particular celebrity, who was an influence, who had millions and millions and millions of followers and was always, tweeting their political horn, was going on and just, I remember like tweeted like, and their caption was, "Are you serious? Fucking river rocks." But what they don't understand was like, I was a part of a simulation that literally used rocks, and the amount of lives and the amount of people that would have been shot if those were used, like you said, in tandem of throwing these at the shooter and rushing them, the numbers dropped.
Yeah.
Like exponentially. Yeah. There are defenses. And obviously, like, yes, a bucket of rocks used, like you said, in tandem of throwing these and being a scared child or teacher is not the same as going up against someone that's armed. But these are things that it sucks because it's just, it needs to be taught. It needs to be taught from now on. And I hate that that's a thing, but it's so common now. What we like, it's all the time. And I kind of want to shuffle into this part of it because I'd love to get your guys' opinions on this. But anytime there's a shooting, the first thing that happens is you have the right wings that are, it's not the gun's fault. It has nothing to do with guns. It's not a political issue. It has absolutely nothing to do with guns. And then you have the left wing that are like, every single gun must be taken, must be pulled. I had what I had told you guys in our text about this beforehand, and we'll kind of get into it, was when we look at things like this, the right to bear arms. Okay, when we look at our Constitution and we break everything down, one of the things I said to you guys was, and when people talk about these weapons, like these have been the same weapons since World War II. All right, we've been using, these weapons have been around. The guns haven't changed. So what's changed? Why should we get rid of the guns? Because they're the same things. People have changed. Society has changed. And because those things have changed, something needs to be fixed. Because if something isn't fixed, we're going to continue to see this. I would say over and over again, like it's, oh, it's going to continue to happen. Like it's happening. It happens all the
361
time.
times. Yeah. 361 times.
It is. I can't at this point. And as many of you guys know, I believe in the right to bear arms. Okay. But I cannot wrap my head around how people and politicians, the minute we see these kind of travesties, instantly jump to the defense of the weapons that are being used. I don't understand it. And what I also don't understand is, and this is just my opinion, but when we see these things are a problem, okay, I don't give a shit about the whole, well, if you can kill people with a car, you can kill people with a knife. No shit. Of course you can. Of course you can. But you can't kill as many in a classroom in as short a period of time. I refuse to, I refuse to believe that if he would have been wielding a knife, I feel like enough teachers and staff would have been able to do something about it, right? He couldn't have driven a car into the school. I also my thing is, if someone is to introduce something new, like, hey, what can we fix? What can we start changing? What can we do differently? The first thing out of our political leaders' mouths, the first thing I see out of people's fucking statuses on Facebook and Twitter are, now's not the time to discuss how we're going to stop weapons, because it's not a weapons issue.
Well, let me start with this, and then I'll give you my point. First of all, I want to, before this gets lost too far, I thought it was in very poor taste that Beto O'Rourke, he was the former Texas, I believe, representative or senator, I can't, but he goes to the news conference of Governor Greg Abbott, and while he's going through the details of this, he makes it a political issue at the time, which I thought was in very, very, very poor taste. And to politicize the issue at that time, it was not the place or not the time. It does need to be discussed, but not at this time when you had people in the room who are dealing with this within 72 hours of the shooting, and they're dealing with this. Now, to what you said, and I'll bring in the poll numbers that we had from this week. We always allow our viewers to add different things to the poll question, but basically the question was this: what do you feel is the best way to deal with this epidemic of mass shootings? The choices I put in was focus more on mental health, better enforce the gun laws we already have in the book, place a ban on assault-style weapons, enhance background checks, and set the age of buying weapons to 21. One of our listeners added a choice, set the age to purchase and carry to 25, which out of all of our votes actually got 45%. 55% voted focus more on mental health. And those were the only two choices that people voted on. And to me, we have, and I don't know, Sean, if it was you or if it was Travis or whoever put that on the group chat this week. I forgot what it was. It was a something. I think it was a tweet or something you had put on there earlier, Sean, about somebody who had said about what happens in America. Let's see here. Here it is. Thinking about the that was you, Travis. Thinking about the mass shooting that happened today in Texas, a bunch of innocent kids dead. The monster responsible is pure evil. The media will make this about guns. It's not about guns. The guns we have right now are the same ones we had 60 years ago. This is where you came up with that, Sean. And our culture changed. Our culture is a disease. Everywhere you turn, hedonism is pushed on kids. Evil is good. As evil as soul is good. God is shunned. Parents and faith are undermined. Morality is laughed at, and yet still people wonder why there's such horror happens on a regular basis. It's our culture. It's pure poison. And the only way to remove the madness is to totally remake our culture to no longer revolve around evil. Now, there's part of that I will agree with. But school shootings are not a new thing. One of our listeners messaged me today, and she's a little bit of a book hound herself, and she said that two things that she pointed out. Studies have been conducted to show that 87% of school shooters were victims of bullying. Let that one, I don't know. But school shootings, and I fact checked this one. The first school shooting on the American continent was in 1746. Okay. So, yeah, I know. But load. Okay. But, I remember two school shootings when I was it would have been my sixth grade and 6th or 7th grade year of school. So it was like 87, 86, 87. And that made, that was like but then this is before the 24-hour news cycle. So school shootings are not something that's new. Okay. I buy the fact that part of the reason, I'm not going to, this is too complicated of an issue just to lay on one thing, to say assault, the term assault weapons. I mean, you guys know more, you guys have had more training with guns than I have. I mean, I think we toss around that term assault weapons too loosely. AR does not stand for assault rifle. Okay. To say that it's all
here's my argument on that. It didn't used to, but and that's what typical gun nuts will like to say, but words and definitions change over time.
Yeah.
AR-15s. What was it, Travis? The original name? It's like era Armalite rifle, and it's just like, okay, like it's again, one of those things that annoys me is when these things happen, and people are like, they used an AR-15, they used an assault rifle to shoot, and then people are like, this dumbass doesn't even know what AR-15 stands for.
Well, that's not, and again,
that's a perfect tweet.
Right. But to me, and our friend Colby Coleman says there isn't an easy fix, and I agree with it. There is not, there's not going to be a Band-Aid that we can put over this. Number one thing that we need to do is we need to, the point to where the glorification of guns, is that the right term to use? I don't know. But the glorification of guns in our society, we have gotten to this point where you're going to, Charlton Heston, who used to be the guy for NRA all the way through the 80s and early 90s, you can take my gun from my cold, dead hands. And that has become the mantra now of every NRA member who, thinks that, and then you have the lefties, like you said, John. Then you have the lefties. Oh, it's the gun lobby, the gun lobby, the gun lobby. Okay, let's look at the bigger picture. And this is going to make me sound like a callous son of a bitch, but I'm going to say this. We just sent $40 billion to the Ukraine. Okay, I support the Ukrainian people. I support their victory, their stand that they're taking against the Russians. But when you break down the number of schools that we have in the United States, and schools like ours it's not in the budget. We cannot afford a resource officer. Okay? But I want to tell you something. $40 billion, and you take the whole number of schools that we have in the United States, public, private, the whole 9 yards. I believe, and call me crazy, but I believe that would more than adequately pay for a resource officer at every school, an armed resource officer at every school. I believe if you want to get something done, you want to get these retired. By the way, we do have a retired police officer. We have 2 retired police officers on staff at Clopton who I'm not sure if they carry or not, but they know what to do. And after the day after the Robb shooting, he was carrying around a walkie-talkie with him, just in case, And so, but you get these retired police officers who would probably love to donate time. Let us donate time. Figure out something with your local sheriff's department. Okay, part of our detail is going to be, okay, this week, Joe, you're going to go and you're going to be the resource officer at Clopton. Bill, you're going to be at Bonsell. Tom, you're going to be at Bowling Green. Roger, you're going to be at Louisiana. Okay. And put one guy and just put them on a rotation. Okay. Taxpayer dollars, put it to work. Instead of having 20 guys, right around the county in their units, put these guys in their schools. And I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of term and saying something like that. But one of our, I just had a comment here. It says, if you haven't read the book Columbine by David Cullen, you should. It's a very eye-opening on how, even though school shootings aren't new, the phenomenon of the current day school shootings haven't taken shape, and how we ourselves play a role in it, as well as several eye-opening details about Columbine. Yes, and Columbine was the deadliest shooting, and then we had Sandy Hook, and now we have this one. But as a teacher, that's where I'm coming from, though. I believe there are solutions that we can do tomorrow. There are solutions that we can implement across the nation tomorrow to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to, we're going to start putting sheriff's deputies on detail. We're going to start putting,
Well, that's just it. Like, there's so much. Let's be honest. Nothing's gonna change with the gun policies anytime soon.
No.
Like, it's just a constant back and forth battle with left and right. It's a complicated situation. But what we could do tomorrow, like you just said, why not use that $40 billion that went to Ukraine and put that towards making it a thing where taxpayer dollars can afford every school at least one safety resource officer, like you just noted. I don't think taxpayers would have an issue with that, knowing that their kids are safer in school. I do not think that would be an issue.
Well, I can already see one particular individual that I know that my kids don't even go to that school. And I'm paying property tax for school. My kids don't even go.
Shut the F up.
It's no. There is a lot of stuff that could be done tomorrow. Because again, you're right, Travis. Like,
why not increase the security in schools? Like, that can change tomorrow.
And one of the things I even thought about was like, okay, we know that what we talked about with it. Again, it sounds crazy. Like, this kind of stuff sounds ridiculous, but like, why aren't classroom doors ballistic doors?
Yes.
Why? Again, and some people can argue with me, I think that arming teachers might be one of, in my opinion, other people have other opinions.
Yeah.
One of the worst ideas ever.
I don't buy into that. Yeah. I'm
putting weapons and putting that responsibility on a teacher.
Yeah. I'm not one of those.
But yeah, you're right. Like, again, and we talked about this school with, having an open door when they have the bells and whistles that every school that I go to, right? All the high schools that I visit a lot. All of them are on you got to buzz in basis. Some of them even have bulletproof glass. When you walk in, their doors are super thick, super heavy doors. Speaking to the counselor, not any of them, it's like open. It's straight up looks like a prison where you got to kind of press the button so that they can speak to you. And they're behind bulletproof glass. We're at the point, like, again, call me crazy, but it's like federal money could have been used to put those things in our public high schools across the United States. Um, and I don't feel like making schools look more like prisons is the answer, but and again, because the issue isn't just in schools, but we're focusing on the school um, right now, and
Well,
especially like, go
and,
ahead.
well, okay. So I did a mission trip I've done 3 mission trips to Costa Rica, and we were allowed to go into schools, all big city schools. We went into small schools. Every school that we went to had a fence, had a 10-foot fence with barbed wire at the top, had one guard check-in point with an armed guard at the front gate. And I never saw anything smaller than what I guess I could describe as look like what an M16, what I believe would have been an M16. But every school that I went to had one of those. What are and maybe this is a question we should ask. What aren't we getting at American schools that all these other countries are getting? Why is this an American epidemic? Do you guys have an answer to that?
Well, I have a thought.
I have theory.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Travis.
My theory is, and I'm saying this because I'm not fully aware of how easily accessible weapons are in most other countries in the world. My theory is that you have unstable, mentally ill people who have easy access to weapons, and there's no. Yeah, I'll just go with that for now. There's too easy access to weapons for people that should never have access to weapons to begin with here in this country. And I mean, that's my only theory I have at this time as to why that could be. And I would say our country, undoubtedly, you talked about this before, V, that was a good point. Our country definitely glorifies weapons.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen the meme of like the American breakfast, and it's got bacon, eggs, coffee, toast, and then there's like a pistol like right next to it.
One of our Twitch viewers didn't agree with me, but he said, "I hate that. Why the hell are my tax dollars going to other people?" And then he commented, "So what is the long-term implications of making schools more like prisons? That can't be good. We have more guns than any other countries and more gun violence."
Okay, and so here's. Go ahead, Travis.
So, yeah, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about, the bulletproof glass and all that stuff. Like, I get it. We don't want to make our schools look like a prison. That obviously will have negative consequences, in my opinion. And that's where I think, again, I don't know what this looks like, but that's where the school has to get creative. We have to get, decorations and all that kind of stuff. And you have to really make it look like a fun learning environment as much as you can with, I don't know how obvious it is that glass is bulletproof. It really depends on the setup. And I'm not saying we're not barring up windows or anything like that. Like, it's not, obviously, security checkpoints and stuff like that would be kind of,
well, and
I don't know. I think that's where the school has to get creative.
Well, and so add this to the list of responsibilities that we already have.
That's true.
I mean, we have, number one, we have kids who come to school to get a meal. We have kids who do not get breakfast or dinner, and so they get breakfast and lunch at school. We have kids who come to school who come from broken homes, who are being physically abused and mentally abused and sexually abused. We have kids who have no desire to be at school because they think that they can. And so you compile all this on, and then you throw in this extra. This is part of the reason. And I know I'm going off on a rampant here, but this is part of the reason why So many young people, young teachers are leaving the profession because there is just too much to say, okay, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. And now you throw in the violent. And I mean, these two teachers that were shot at Robb Elementary, I mean, 30, 37 and a 41-year-old. And, you know, to me, it's just getting, and I told Janine this the other night, I'm glad I teach where I teach. I'm glad I teach where I teach because, you know, we have, because of our size, we can find these, we can get these problems, we can catch these problems and we nip them in the bud. I mean, my boss did a great job always in his 16 years as tenure as the principal. He did a great job, and you guys can attest to this too. He did a great job always. Whenever there was a rumor of violence or there was something that was going to happen or there was, okay, let's get the parties involved. Let's get them in here. Let's talk. And if this person is a threat, you're gone. You're gone. We had a kid who, I remember right after Sandy Hook, we had a student who got mad at another student and said, man, my dad and I will come back to this school and we're going to make this look worse than Sandy Hook. And he was speaking out of anger, but that kid was gone for the rest of the school year. And for the rest, as far as I know, that kid still has he cannot enter school property or he'll be arrested, you know? So it's just, to me, it's about training and getting people who are going to be on board, getting your police officers trained, and that's in the short view. In the long view, we do have to look back at, you know, you do have to look back at the gun issue. I'm a hunting enthusiast. I have one gun. And that's it. I don't glorify guns. I don't, you know, I mean, I've got a wooden paddle up here on my wall that's 3.5 foot long. If I need to, I can grab it and I can just as quickly use that as I can a gun to defend my house. Okay. I don't glorify the gun culture. I'm not afraid of, and people need to get over this whole thing of they're going to take your guns away. They're not going to take your guns away. We need to stop that shit pardon my French, but we need to stop that shit right where it starts.
Right. And that's one of the big things, again, that gets me. And Travis, I'm going to come back to what you said a little bit ago. But I don't think people really wrap their head around, like, if that was a thing, again, just to put it out on a pedestal, of if the federal government was like, yep, we are going to execute Order 66, right? We are going to load up, lock and load, get them. Because again, first off, you're going to expect the military, you're going to expect local law enforcement, because again, who's going to impose these rules? It'll be military and local law enforcement are going to storm into homes, right? And go through and collect and take weapons away. So that would arguably lead to the bloodiest conflict the United States has ever seen.
I agree.
Even larger than the Civil War.
I agree.
Okay. And then again, what's funny when I bring that up, right? The same people that are touting like, I can't take my guns, I can't do it, I won't, are the same people that are preaching the back the blue. Again, it's the same bullshit with like the January 6th insurrection, right? The same, like, we've got your back, we're all for police, we're all for the military, would be the same individuals that would be shooting and killing military and police officers for entering their homes to take their weapons.
Yeah.
Again, when what Travis had said, and he's right, like, we are, it's a blessing and a curse to be able to walk into your local hunting good or, sporting goods store and be able to buy a weapon right on the spot, take it out and leave. What's kind of crazy is, in I believe it's Texas and in Missouri. So I can speak for Missouri. You can buy a rifle at the age of 18,
mm-hmm.
But you can't buy a handgun until you're 21. Okay. Can't buy a handgun until you're 21. Now, what weapon are these shooters using? Are they typically using handguns when they roll into schools?
Nope.
No, they're using rifles. Okay. When it comes to people like, I'm here to protect my family. Okay. Again, I completely agree. I completely believe that everyone should have the right to be armed. Again, in their own home. But again, when we go back, when we talk about, the Second Amendment, and again, what I believe is when we talk about, like, we need to maintain a well-regulated militia. We have that militia. It's called the National Guard.
Right.
Okay, we have that militia. But again, I understand guns are just some people's things. But what gets me is, like, how many do you need in your house? How many does an individual need? And the argument's like, well, you shouldn't be able to put a cap on how many some people need. It's like, and again, my argument is, like, in life, right? Our life growing up, like in school, Travis, you can speak for it, in the military. We've kind of been in that, role of, like, when one person messes something up, it affects everybody else, right? It does affect everybody else. So I'm a firm believer, like, hey, if I know that someone purchased 2 rifles on their 18th birthday, the day they turned 18, they were able to purchase 2 rifles, okay, in and out of the shop, just like that. And then they would go on to do what they did. Even though I'm all the way here in Missouri, if someone told me, hey, we're thinking about making a regulation where if you go to purchase a weapon, it takes 30 days for you to be able to actually have access to that weapon now, because we're going to institute a wait time. Because imagine with the messages that he had been, like, because now, as we find out these things, what comes out of the woodworks is the messages that he was sending people over Facebook, over Instagram, talking to people, saying shit like, oh, just wait till next week. You're going to know what I'm up to. Okay. All these messages that are coming out. Imagine if there had been a wait period. And I'm not saying, like, oh, you got to wait a year. I'm talking about there was a wait period. And imagine had someone maybe mentioned, like, hey, this, and, as we know, clearly he's an unstable individual. Maybe he tells someone else, maybe he says something else, or puts something else up that gets flagged. And then guess what? There's 30 days where he had to wait to get that weapon. And guess what? He's not going to get that weapon because someone reported him. Why are there not?
But I still want to, and you guys may, and this is the beauty of the show, that we can disagree with each other on this. But I still want to look at the mental health issue of this individual. I want to look at the mental health issue of the gentleman who did Sandy Hook. Both of which, okay, issues. So I put on our group chat earlier this week. The grandfather, this young man was living with his grandparents, shot his grandmother. We haven't mentioned this first. The first victim of this crime was the grandmother. He shot the grandmother in the face. But when this grandfather, this grandfather who said, okay, did he ever say anything? No, he pretty much just goes back to his room. Okay, well, what kind of, when was the last time you talked to him? Well, I took him to work last week with me. He didn't graduate from school, and so and it's like, well, what do you feel about weapons? Well, I can't be around weapons because of my past, which tells me felony. Okay. The issue to me, and I am in the minority here when I say this, but the issue to me still, there is an aspect. Yes, guns are part of it. I still believe that mental health is still a larger part of this.
Well, but here's the thing, though. If that's the thought, because mental health is a bigger part of it, then why is it so easy for people with very clear mental health issues to have readily available access to these weapons without, like, why do we not have, again, and this, so
because the background checks they currently have are a joke.
Well, yeah, because
yes.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago with the
psyche valve.
That's the thing is why is it, again, here's, if you want to become a personal trainer, right? You have to study for a test. You have to take a test. You get your personal trainer certification. Boom. Awesome. Well, if you want to maintain that personal trainer certification, you have to do continued education and you have to retest every so often. Same thing with real estate. Same thing with insurance, right? Teaching. You have to do continued education and recert. This is not a thing when it comes to, you purchase a gun, you have it. Okay. And they're now that's different, like maybe with, CCW, any kind of like special thing is that can expire. But why, again, okay, if you want to go purchase a weapon, why is it so crazy for some people to say, okay, because mental health is an issue that I agree with you, V, where they very clearly have mental health issues, but they also have they have easy access to these weapons because they can pass a background check. Because hey, the kid was 18, probably didn't have a record. That background check, in and out.
And
However,
we talked about this 2 weeks ago with the Buffalo shooting. That kid who did the shooting at that Buffalo shooting was detained. What was it? The year previous, and how that didn't raise any red flags. And I agree with you, Travis, that I think that I believe that the whole thing is a joke. The background checks are a joke, and the fact that you can go to and talk about waiting periods, Sean, you can go to a gun show right now.
They have, again, and people hate me for this, gun shows have got to go.
Yes.
They have to.
I agree.
Unregulated checks like that, like, and just being able to walk in, again, blows my mind. But the thing is, like, for a place like Dunham Sports or Dick's Sporting Goods, right? These places where you could buy weapons. I don't even know if Dick's actually sells weapons.
No, they don't anymore.
After
they don't anymore.
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
But if so, Dunham Sports, it's a sports sporting goods store
Local,
that sells pistols, rifles, and shotguns. I believe, and again, if you're a law-abiding gun owner, if you're a law-abiding citizen, and you're all about it, I believe you should have to, whenever you purchase one of these weapons, you should have to, you should have to go through, whether it's annually, whether it's semi-annually, I don't know. I'm willing to take whatever people want to give us. But you should have to, before you purchase a weapon, you should have to have a psych evaluation done. Okay. And again, I'm a firm believer. Let's say you're denied. Let's say someone's like, nope, this person's not. Okay. I believe you should have the right to appeal, and there should be able to be an appeal process. Mm-hmm. I believe that. Mm-hmm. However, I don't see why it's so crazy, especially if you're a law-abiding gun owner, to say, okay, cool. Hey, yep, I did my annual or my, once every 2 year psych eval that, I was able to get done at my health clinic because it's free, right? You're able to go through and get free, and you just say, hey, or you go to your county clerk or wherever it might be that you would go through and do that thing where you say, hey, I need to do my yearly or my annual psych eval, so because I want to purchase a weapon. Boom, you get that entered into a database. Databases aren't hard. We have them all over. Boom. You go to your local sporting goods store. They get your ID. They get your social security card. They get everything that they need that says, hey, this person, yep, last month passed their annual psych eval, and boom, they also their record's clean too. Mm-hmm. Why is that so crazy?
It's not crazy, and that to me and that would be an answer. That would be a solution that I think would at least start chipping the tip of the iceberg. But to say that if we're going, the other issue with this though is just like anything else, people will be able to find a gun in our society because guns are so readily available. People will always be able, I mean, even if it's black market, even if it's on the street, even if it is, we saw back during Obama's presidency, we saw the Fast and Furious the gun trafficking investigation that went wrong. We saw that illegal guns were coming into this country by the truckloads. And so this is an epidemic. There's no easy fix. As Colby said earlier on the chat page, there is no easy fix, but we've got 535 representatives up on Capitol Hill. We need to set those idiots in a room, and we need to have and get NRA out of the room. Get your lefty, righty, get all those guys, get all your money backers, get them out of the room. Get your lobbyists out of the room and sit down. And stop making this a political issue. That's one thing. This has to stop being a political issue because We're now talking about people's lives. And to me, people's lives are not a political issue. Children, as a father, as you as a father, me as a father, Travis, hopefully one day to be a father, this is something that strikes home with us and it pisses the hell out of us. And we want this problem to be, like I said, there's been school shootings for years. In the 2000s, I'll say it again, 361 schools. Now, not all of them there was only 7 of them that had mass of casualties over 10. But one is too many. One is too many.
I have 2 things to add to that. One, because you might be able to answer this, so I want to get my first point across first. So like you said, illegal weapons are coming in and black market and all that stuff. My argument to that is I agree with you that they're still going to be coming in. But individuals like this kid, individuals like the kid in Buffalo, they're not going to be able to get them. And same thing, if we get rid of gun shows, how much does that number drop off? Because if a sporting goods store wants to keep their business open, they're not going to be selling illegal weapons. They're not going to be, But so here's a question, because I hate lobby. I'm a firm believer. Hey, you want to be a congressman or senator? Guess what? You're going to get that salary. This whole Nancy Pelosi and her drunk driving ass husband are going out making millions of dollars per year. Ted Cruz, Dan Crenshaw, all these guys that make millions of dollars every year.
Millions.
So I genuinely don't know. Is there any way that the American people, and obviously the Sleepy Joe's not going to do it, but is there anything that could even be, because that the Senate and the House, they're not going to vote to get rid of their own shit.
No.
But is there any way that the American people, or that because obviously if the president made an executive order, then that shit would just get kicked out.
In 2007, there was a Supreme Court case that was called Citizens United versus FEC. FEC is the Federal Election Commission. The Federal Election Commission had restrictions put in place as to how much each PAC, Political Action Committee, could put towards and so basically the Citizens United group wanted to be able to say, hey, money equals free speech, and the court agreed with them. And so as a result, there are these groups that are called 504s that do not necessarily back a candidate or give money to a candidate, but can put it towards their campaign by saying, hey, we're independently sponsoring this guy and we're going to make our own commercials. But I mean, there's how money gets funneled to these guys. There's so many backdoor ways. But yeah, the issue tried to the other thing that I can think of is the Feingold-McCain bill, which was passed into law, which tried to put more restrictions on campaign finance. And, I may not have agreed with Barack Obama on a lot of things, but I did respect the heck out of him, because in his re-election campaign in 2008, he refused to take any PAC money at all. And so, but it's a lot harder on these congressional guys because there are so many. It's nothing for somebody to say, hey, we'd like for you to vote this way on a particular issue. And, oh, hey, we know you like the Washington Wizards. We have a box seat for,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just crap like that happens all the time.
Well, AOC getting her free dress and ticket to the Met Gala
to the Met Gala, right.
Yeah, it's again, but because that's always going to be a contributing factor. Like when you look at some of these like when bills and stuff are sent to the House or to the Senate, it's always funny because like the way that I see it anyway is like, let's say it's like a real neck and neck bill, right? Where it's almost like all, if the Senate's so evenly split, and then you have like every Republican and then every single Democrat, every Republican votes yes, every Democrat votes no, except for like one Democrat will vote alongside the Republicans to give them the number they need. And I'm always just like, someone fucking Venmo'd this asshole just some giant ass amount of money, knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, I'm just doing what the people want."
I'm
But,
doing what the
it's
Yeah. Well, this is, this is exactly the discussion that we wanted to have. Holy crap. And I'm sorry for all of we have I wish I could show, actually I can show, but if you look here on our chat board here, this is what the chat board looks like. And you can just see that we had a hiccup earlier. We had a lot more comments on there. We had a little hiccup earlier, but yeah, thank you guys all for these comments tonight. And we knew that this was going to be a hot button issue, and I know that we'll probably get more comments through the week when we get more people who will listen to this on our stream on Spotify and everything. But thank you guys for contributing tonight.
Yeah, and again, this was a really good episode. Travis, I'm bummed out that your allergies are so bad. Just because I could tell, I was excited to hear. We'll definitely
when we don't get the visual, when all we get is the profile pic, we know that Travis is feeling like garbage and doesn't want us to see his beautiful face.
I was good until like 30 minutes in, and my cough just got like really bad. I know you can probably hear it in my voice too.
Yeah.
And now the NyQuil is really kicking in, so we're ending it.
Yeah, well, we'll let you get to sleep here. But one quick note: next week I will be on vacation in the great state of Alabama, Gulf Shores, Alabama, and nice. So unless you guys want to do the show by yourselves without my,
I think we've talked. I think we talked. Yeah, we're taking the week off.
Yeah, we're going to take next week off, and we'll be cooking up some ideas. Just to give you guys a little bit of an update too, I will be meeting with our merch lady this week.
Nice.
So nice. we are on track to have merch by the end of the summer. I have established a meeting with this lady, so we will get all of that ball rolling. And but yeah.
Yeah, and again, everyone, awesome. Thank you all so much for listening. Be a friend, tell a friend. You guys know where to find us. Again, this being a touchy issue, the one thing I can say, and I know I could speak from the same thing with Andy and Travis, is just tell your family you love them, tell your friends you love them. Yes. If you're someone that, again, it sounds so silly, it sounds so stupid to some, but I promise you, if you're a family that doesn't eat meals at the table, just do it. Add it once a week.
Yeah.
Add it twice a week. Add it when you can. Understand people are different everywhere in the world, and even if you're a parent and you don't think you're doing the best job, talk to your kids. Yeah. Understand, and it's things like this can be prevented, and there's more that we can also do. But the things that are out of our control, there are things that are in our control. So definitely take advantage of the time that you have while you have it. But again, thank you all so much for listening, for the commenting. I can't wait to go back and re-listen and watch this episode and see some of the comments and everything. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you all so much. We're off next week, but we can't wait to be back with you as we continue to bring you the voice of reason. So until next time, thank you guys so much.